I'm Tatiana.
I'm Faith.
I'll go first. Growing up, did you feel proud about how people who look like you were portrayed in the media? Did you see representations of your race in the media at all?
I did. I spent a lot of my time watching 90s black television, which was just like the best, Cosby Show, like all these other things. But as I grew up, there was like a shift where all that stopped, and then it became more, more just black women, like reality TV show, like Love and Hip Hop or this, and it was really negative. I just felt really bad for a long time, just wondering how people would see me if the only other me's that they saw were on TV were portrayed as negative and like bad people. Mm-hmm. And so it was just like that feeling of, wow, if someone sees me, they might just, the only thing they have to go off of is like this person that they saw on some TV show.
Yeah. And then a follow-up. How did this make you feel about people who look like you? How did it make you feel about the way you look?
As far as like my race went, like I always thought that I was like awesome, like I was like great because I was black, but I was also Nigerian, and I saw that Nigerians were just like these great people. But as far as like in high school, I did for a long time distance myself from other black students, and I tried to say like, I'm not like them, which was such a toxic mentality, but good thing I grew out of it. Yeah. But it did definitely, kind of put a roadblock or like a stumbling block in my maturity as a person to like not blame my people for things that they didn't really cause. So it's just that.
Growing up, I don't think I had this awareness at all of the way that Armenians were portrayed in the media, because it's like such a small culture. But then Kim Kardashian came along, and I think that really gave us a bad mark for Armenians. Because I think anytime I tell people that I'm Armenian, that's the first thing that they say. Mm-hmm. And I think that's so media specific. And there's a lot of Armenians that live in LA. So I feel like producers or anything like that, people that are sort of behind the camera, they drop certain Armenian names in on things. And I've noticed that it's usually like with sort of a bad connotation, like the guy who wears like the heavy metal chain. I've noticed it now, like in hindsight, looking back on certain shows that I'll watch, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they just like dropped an Armenian name. But then it's never really in a context that's like too powerful, which is fine, but it's always been like just kind of negative. Mm-hmm. And then now that I've noticed that the Armenian culture is being represented in different things for whatever it might be going on with our history, anything like that, I just feel like we portray the Armenians as like survivors of this genocide that happened in 1915, and I don't think they're portrayed for anything else. Nobody knows about really great writers or singers or the country or like how beautiful it is over there and like the people and the food, and there's just like so much more that you can talk about within the culture except for the genocide. And I mm-hmm. think that we as a people do that, and I think that like the media picks up on that, and if we as a people maybe focused more on the other things that we offer instead of just the genocide, I think, then it might get picked up within the media too. Was it assumed from a young age that you would go to college?
Oh yeah, everyone in my school goes to college. They don't even ask you like if you're going, they tell you like which one are you going to. Like it's so natural to me that for the longest time I didn't know that people didn't just go straight to 4 years. I just thought that everyone did it because all of our parents came from Nigeria in like the 70s, and they really just instilled in us like, you are going to this college right now and figure out what you're going to do. You're going to be a doctor, a lawyer. And I guess in some ways it was great because it was just that kind of like push that I kind of needed to excel in school. I knew what college meant to my parents. It just meant excellence to them. So mm-hmm. like in everything I do, I always just tried to be the best.
Did your parents go to college in Nigeria?
No. My mom went to college in Texas to be a nurse. Then my dad went to college in Oklahoma, and then he went to a school up east for his PhD in chemical engineering.
Dang.
So there's
smart guy. Smart parents. So for me too, I just from a very young age, my mom would talk about wouldn't it be nice if I could answer the phone and say hello, the doctor's mother speaking, and so from a very young age it was you're going to do something really big, you're going to do something great. Education is a big part of that. to the point where it's like it was all about like books, and I'm not a very creative person like naturally, but I don't even think that that was ever even. I wonder sometimes if I had some maybe like more hippie parents where like that was maybe an option, like what would I do? But I think naturally I just have always been very like on track. Like after high school you go to college, after college you get a job. Like when you have that job, it's like what's the next step? So it was always implied.
Have you ever acted a certain way because people expected certain behavior from someone of your race or ethnic religious group?
I want to say yes. My mom's from the Middle East, and she grew up like very conservatively, and she was very much so like a homemaker. And I feel like there is like this certain expectation that, you know, you're supposed to be a good hostess, you're supposed to act like a lady, you're supposed to like really behave yourself and just like present yourself with respect. So I mean, I don't think it's like my baseline of the way that I act, I think, is because of that. But I wouldn't say it's like anything outlandish, like I've done something a certain way because of that. So.
Well, so yeah, my parents are really conservative too. Yeah, just the same thing. Like we want you to do really well in school and be like leadership roles and be like dress a certain way, like don't be too showy, that kind of thing. So there was like the Nigerian part of me, but then living in America, it was also like, what do people expect of me as a Black person? Like, what do they want me to act like? So, and then if I thought it was like, they thought negative things about me, then I made sure to act extra positive. So it was like I'm gonna do these things naturally because it's how my parents raised me, but because I think people think I will act a certain way, I just tried to act so far away from that.
Like out of character, you think?
No, but more just like.
Yeah, more on.
Yeah, I want everyone to like know.
Yeah.
Like I could have been more mellow had I not known that there are like certain stereotypes like surrounding me at all times.
Interesting.
Privilege to me is not mostly things that you get, but just things that you don't have to think about. Because I think that everyone is just a human, has to deal with just like, you know, cruddy human things. But I think privilege just kind of like takes other things off your plate.
Privilege is like such a quiet thing that like kind of lurks in the background and you never really notice it until there's a shift in perspective, I think. So like I grew up, I went to a good school, I have a good job, I live in a wonderful city, but then like I'll hear a story about somebody who's like struggling. And that struggle to me is something that I am so lucky that I'll hopefully never have to experience. And then that's when privilege comes into play, because I have now realized that that's nothing that I can ever even empathize with, because I can't even think of like what would that be like. So that's privilege to me, is that shift in perspective and you realizing and appreciating like where you've been in your life and where you're going is going to be different than other people, and you have that privilege. It sets a tone with the rest of the way that you kind of do things and make decisions.